I inherit a view of life that gives me the way I live. Unfortunately, it leaves me comparing my lot, my circumstances, who I think I am, what I should have, what I should do, the profession I should be in compared to others. And yet, it's kind of like me going to engineering school when in fact, I wanted to be a philosopher. And I work as an engineer. I'm very successful because I'm not going to fail. And yet, something inside still feels like it's not right. So a lot of people, like I did, will ignore that twinge for a long time, even for a lifetime. So the journey begins when I refuse to ignore that and start seeking.
And hello, my friends, and welcome on board. My name is Derrick Fennell, and I'm your host on the NextGen Podcast. And you're right on time for takeoff. So take your seats, fasten your seatbelts, and sit back and enjoy the flight on the NextGen Podcast. Welcome on board. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to NextGen Podcast One, where wisdom meets technology and leadership meets clarity. And we have real conversations with people who help others transform how they lead and live. And before we begin, I want to ask you to like, subscribe, and share this episode. Here's why that matters. When you like and subscribe, it tells YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify that this conversation is valuable. So it will get shown to more leaders and decision makers. And when you share it, you help important ideas reach people who may need them right now. So I'm your host, Derrick Fennell, and today's guest is a human behavior and transformation expert who helps leaders become who they admire, not just who they manage. Sorel Quettan is the founder and CEO of Execufit, a business consulting firm focused on leadership transformation. He's also the creator of the Authentic Leadership Journey, a framework designed to help leaders align who they are with how they lead. Sorel, welcome to NextGen Podcast One. How are you today, sir?
Derrick, thank you for having me. I am doing phenomenal today, and I'm so happy to be here with you.
Well, I am absolutely ecstatic to have you on the show. You are definitely a well-seasoned and spoken individual, and I'm sure you have a lot of individual information to help those that are listening. So, Sorel, we're going to start right at the top with your journey.
Yeah.
What experiences led you to focus so deeply on human behavior and transformation?
That experience has to start where I am from.
Okay.
For the people listening to you, I want them to know that I am from Haiti.
Okay.
Haiti is this island in the Caribbean that borders the Dominican Republic that form one island together. As a young man raised in Haiti until the age of 17, I ended up inheriting a way of seeing life. I love being Haitian. Mm-hmm. I love being who I am. And that way of life I inherited became me in some way, Derrick. And what I mean by that is I grew up seeing people who were like me or not like me, who owned the infrastructure or owned the businesses or did that or the other. And, it was my lot that I grew up thinking that there are people like that. Mm-hmm. And then there is me and my parents and my peers and my brothers and sisters and the rest of my family. Mm-hmm. And so I want to take responsibility for having that view. No one imposed it on me, and yet I inherited it. And then at some point in time in my life, after leaving Haiti, I left Haiti in 1977. But you know what? That view of life, I didn't leave it there. So that view of life was not a function of where I was born or who was around me. It was a function of how I evolved as a human being. When I came to Miami, that same view of life was there. So that view of life ended up giving me the way I chose my major in college what profession I went in, who I associated myself with, you name it, until something miraculous happened, 1999. I bumped up against a conversation that helped me see that view of life. And when I say view of life, I want to say it this way. It's how I saw myself, how I saw others in relationship to myself, and how I saw the world and the circumstances I lived in. And all of that gave me my life. It gave me going to the U.S. News and World Reports to find out which job would pay the most if I went and majored there. So I majored in engineering. However, what I loved the most was literature and philosophy.
Okay. Well, let me ask the question.
Yeah.
Because you're going right into, but I want to frame it so that the audience understands.
Yeah.
So, was there a defining moment that you realized your leadership development had to go deeper than skills and titles?
The leadership moment didn't steer me to skills and title. It was something inside that I always felt that was there, Derrick. It was a sense of being successful and yet feeling like something was missing. And the defining moment was a conversation similar to this one, where people were creating and seeing and practicing, looking, not for any other reason than to see the mechanism of what it is to be a human being. And man, I fell in love with that conversation. I didn't know that human beings could pause, look through a conversation, what's giving them the life they're living. And so that was the defining moment for me. I said to myself in that conversation, oh my God, I want to spend the rest of my life immersing myself in those spaces. Because what I did find out that defined everything going forward, Derrick, is that I wasn't condemned to stay living the life I was living. I wasn't condemned to stay leading people and working hard to influence people the way I was. All I needed to do was shift my view. And I didn't have to have just one view. When I shift my view from the truth that I had to a view that I invented and created, I saw that I could invent many more. So I began practicing, creating for myself and for others, conversations that simply offer this. You know, I've come to discover, just like I am, that most human beings are addicted to fixing themselves. You know, I want to learn more so I can earn more. I want to learn more so I can lead more effectively. In some way, shape, or form, whatever it is, however hard I'm working, there's this thing in the background that assumes there's something defective and I need to fix it. And those conversations gave me the opportunity to cure myself of that addiction. And you asked about the journey. That's a roundabout way of saying I came to fall in love with human behavior and the way people look at each other and the way people lead and influence each other through that little journey from Haiti.
Wow.
And now I practice having those conversations. And I think what we're probably going to dive into right now is like, what are those conversations?
Well, I was going to ask it a different way.
Yeah.
So how did those experiences shape the creation of Execufit?
Of Execufit.
Execufit. I apologize for that.
Yeah.
How did those experiences shape the creation of Execufit?
Yeah, the Execufit was first born as a gift to my community. Because when I went into the realm of those conversations, this is what I said to myself. I said, when I train and develop myself, to see that way, and I can
Mm-hmm.
accompany others on a journey
Mm-hmm.
to begin seeing and practicing seeing that way,
Mm-hmm.
I can create in my lifetime, my country, Haiti, being a developed nation, free of its past, free of oppression. And
Mm-hmm.
so that love drove the creation of an enterprise
Mm-hmm.
that was dedicated to doing that for my community, and also
Mm-hmm.
for leaders and CEOs just like us
Mm-hmm.
who are bumping up against what some people call systemic barriers, what others call the way the system works. People might say, well, this is the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
In the conversations I started having with people, I started to see over and over, Derrick, that it wasn't that way. No, it's not the way it is. No, the system is not fixed. No, it's not rigged against me. And I can shift my view of all of that and begin to create for myself. So it's not only the way I earn a living, it's a labor of love. I love having those conversations, and I have them in many different ways. One-to-one, or one to a group of 50 or 75, or one to a group of 1,000. And I've had those conversations. I'm grateful for that. I've had those conversations in my country, Haiti, with government agencies and people in communes, whether they are the most educated or the ones who cannot read a word.
Mm-hmm.
The approach and the methodology that guides these conversations makes them accessible to anyone. Yeah, so Execufit exists as a cradle for these conversations. It's an uncommon conversation to actually be talking about my life or your life and examining how we live as a function of what's in between our ears.
Wow.
And Execufit is a safe place for those conversations to happen. And it's not for people who are defective. No, it's for people who love life. It's for people who are living their best life. And it's for people who want everybody else around them to live that kind of life.
I love it.
Derrick, that kind of life doesn't happen on its own. It doesn't happen by itself. Teams in large organizations don't happen to work together by chance. They work at it. It's like a marriage, Yeah.
Now, for someone discovering Execufit for the first time, how do you explain to them the work you do?
I don't speak to the whole world. I speak to a very specific group of people. And I speak to them because they come from the place I came from. And I understand their language. So I speak to the CEOs, the business owners who run teams, who work specifically in utility infrastructure, whether private or public. And when you say utility infrastructure, it could be telecom, it could be oil and gas, it could be electric, or it could be water. Fact is, when you're building a large infrastructure project, it takes a big team. And those big teams are made up of people. And you may have heard this said, man, if it wasn't for the people, everything would work smoothly around here.
Yes, I have heard that many times. Yeah.
You heard that, right?
Yeah.
And,
and
often the people who are either at the helm of these organizations or at the head of projects find themselves resigned that they're the only ones with the people who can't work together. And what I've found out is that it's not specific to an organization. It is something that is innately human. For a human being, behaviorally speaking, to be someone who exists to survive, meaning I exist so that my lot can be better. And for some reason in my head, even though I won't say it out loud, I operate as if for my lot to be better, something has to go the other way for you, like a zero-sum game. And in every organization, Derrick, that zero-sum game follows teams. And teams end up not being as effective as they can be, because even though they exist to cooperate and collaborate, they end up competing and comparing. So you mentioned, how do those people find me? Well, on podcast.
You just steal all my questions. You go right into my next. Go ahead, sir. Go ahead. I love your dialogue.
Please. I'd love to hear what you heard and what I just said.
Well, I was going to ask you to walk us through a typical engagement. What does a transformation look like in practice?
Yeah, it begins with the acknowledgement and admission by a CEO or a head of a project that something's happening, and it doesn't have to do with either the competence, the will, or the good will. Like the people aren't effective because guess what? I've sent them to all the training I need to send them. They know project management back and forth, like the back of their hands. And they come to work, and I can feel in them the willingness to do the right thing. And yet our projects are behind schedule, they're running over budget, and the clients we serve never seem to be completely satisfied. And the team members operate as if they come to work, and even though they come every day, when they come, the first thing that happens in their gut is something like this. And they go, can't wait to get out of here. But I am here, and this is where I earn my living, and I can't leave. So when a member of a team sees that over and over, someone stands up and has the premonition to say, something's wrong, and it's not the people, and it's not me. And they discover that it takes a certain environment to have a team perform. And they'll come to me and say things like, can you train my team to be good project managers? And I'll say to them, I would do that, but I'd be stealing your money if I did that. Your team has all the training they need. However, the environment they work in doesn't allow them to practice what they've learned. The environment they work in doesn't allow them to express themselves in the way that they can and be fulfilled as team members. If you're willing to work on the environment, let's talk. And when they say yes, I get each of the groups of people together. If you imagine the entire organization, it begins with the C-suite. It goes with the people in the office, then the project managers, then the field operators. Everyone's got a view of life in that organization. And they end up being competing views of life. So it takes having a conversation with each group to understand and to see and to have them hear the view of life that's giving them the way they operate in the organization. And then something magical happens when they say, yes, we'll get together, all of us. So now the C-suite, the office staff, the project managers, the middle managers, and the field folks get together. Maybe it's 22, maybe it's 30 of them. And they start to hear each other's worlds. And when I can hear the world you live in, Derrick, I can begin to not understand, but relate to why you would behave the way you do.
Okay.
Especially when I have something to do with the world you live in. Yeah.
So that kind of takes me to the authentic leadership journey. What does authentic leadership truly mean to you? You created the authentic leadership journey. What does that mean to you? Explain.
I have to take you on a little trip to Turkey.
Okay.
I went to Turkey maybe 5-6 years ago, and there was this shop called Genuine Fakes. And you could find everything there. whether it was a Louis Vuitton bag or, a Gucci shoes, you name it. And on the store, at the door, everywhere you go, it says genuine fakes. And it dawned on me, Derrick, that what's authentic isn't something that is authentic because I'm comparing it to something else. Because see, when you see a Gucci bag that comes from Gucci itself, people might say, well, that's authentic. Versus when you see the Gucci bag that came from that store. But guess what? The owner of that store didn't claim that it was a Gucci bag. They said, this is an authentic fake. This is a genuine fake. Right?
Okay.
So, so the opportunity to present oneself just as one is.
Yes.
When I do that, when you do that, we are being authentic. So authenticity is not a function of comparison to something real. Authenticity is the expression of what is here that I get in touch with and have the guts to express just the way it is.
Well, why do so many leaders struggle to lead authentically, even when they have good intentions?
Because authenticity has nothing to do with your intentions. And let me say a little more about that.
Okay.
How many people do you know in your life who want to be good people?
Everybody.
Everybody, right? So in this business of authentic leadership, I began to discover that in an effort to be good, to remain good, anchored in some set of moral standards that I inherited, I often sacrifice my own identity, who I am for myself, so I can be good, so I can measure up. And just like you said, how many people do you know want to be good? You said, well, everybody. Now, what most leaders, small business, large businesses, you name it, and it doesn't matter. You can't measure authenticity by the amount of financial success you have either. You can be financially loaded and be miserable inside.
Yes.
Because the life you are living isn't a life where you're standing right there and saying, you know what? I'm a genuine fake. So the freedom to proclaim and say out loud who I am and what I stand for, and then to have the life I live be consistent with my saying, is the beginning of authentic leadership. And the reason I call it a journey, because it begins with actually discovering that piece. Who is it that I say I am? What do I stand for? And is that giving me my leadership in my company? Is that giving me my leadership in my relationships, whether at home or at work? And if that's not giving me my leadership, then it's not like I'm bad or I'm wrong. I'm simply not being myself for me. Therefore, I'm not authentic. And in a space like that, my performance is, if not compromised altogether, it is certainly diminished. And my quality of life, if not compromised altogether, is certainly not optimum. So authentic leadership begins with not discovering some self out there that's there for me, waiting for me. Authentic leadership begins with me saying who I am.
True.
Just like that store in Turkey. Genuine fake, man. Take me.
Now, so what's a common pattern you see in leaders before they begin transformation work? You know, like when one recognizes, well, they're unhappy with who they are, right? and they're trying to be someone they're not, you know. And then there's a common pattern in leaders before they begin to transformation work. What's that common pattern that you see?
I'll speak about me first to reveal the common pattern, because that common pattern isn't unique to me or you or other leaders. It is a function of being human being. That's why human behavior is so critical in this. So the common pattern goes like this. I inherit a view of life that gives me the way I live. Unfortunately, it leaves me comparing my lot, my circumstances, who I think I am, what I should have, what I should do, the profession I should be in compared to others. And yet, it's kind of like me going to engineering school when in fact, I wanted to be a philosopher.
Okay.
Right? And I work as an engineer. I'm very successful because I'm not going to fail, right? And yet, something inside still feels like it's not right. So, a lot of people, like I did, will ignore that twinge for a long time, even for a lifetime. So, the journey begins when I refuse to ignore that and start seeking. So I'll seek out friends, I'll seek out conversations. And then, as the proverb says, when the student's ready, the teacher appears. And some teacher appears, and the teacher doesn't have to be some wise guru. It is simply someone who's willing to listen and give you the space to say.
So what usually shifts first? Like, okay, you were going to school for an engineer, and then you realize you wanted to be a philosopher. What usually shifts first? Awareness, behavior, or results? You became aware when you became the engineer and you didn't like the results of it? Or did you already have the awareness that this is not what I want to do? Or the activity, the behavior that you had to do, the activity that you had to perform began to shift? Because what came first? Awareness, behavior, or results?
Yeah. What came first in my case, and what usually comes first with the clients I work with, is the willingness to say, I don't know. Right? Because for a long
that's
time.
Good. That's good.
For a long
That is
time.
so good. Yeah.
I knew that being an engineer was what was right for me.
Yeah.
Because the money's great, the accolades are great, I'm good at it, right? And then I began to have conversations where the conversations themselves question the validity of what I know. But not knowing like my skills, but knowing about me. So where it really begins is in the willingness for me as a CEO, for me as a business owner, to question what I know about me, about others, and about the way people interact with each other, and about the way I influence others. When that willingness is there, a window opens wide where we continue to question what has always been, quote unquote, the truth about life and about leading companies and about succeeding in projects. So a project manager may say, man, I've got all the tools I need to schedule and budget a project. As a matter of fact, when we're off by a cent or off by a microsecond, I can detect that with my tools. And yet, with all the sophisticated tools, you talk about technology and the marriage of technology with business, right? With all the sophisticated tools, projects still fail, organizations still struggle, and teams still are mired in dysfunction. So what's the problem? The problem begins to reveal itself when I can see for myself that, Maybe I don't know how to influence others. Maybe I actually don't put weight on how the impact of my speaking. And people start to discover, this is the big shift that happens. And then transformation really happens. People start to see that nothing happens in an organization unless a human being opens her mouth or his mouth to speak to another. You know, people would call that communication. And then they go, well, I need to speak and communicate effectively. But that's not the point. The point is for one to discover, when I open my mouth to say something, what is giving me my speaking?
What is giving you your speech? What is?
There's something using me, giving me what I say. And there's something using others, giving them what they hear and say, and vice versa. So to communicate in an organization is to run the organization. So when I open my mouth, others are hearing me. I am leading. And when they go and open their mouths because of what I say, they're leading. So if you look at it and you say an organization is a network of people connected by conversations, without being pedantic about it, I could say and acknowledge for myself, oh my God, I am the most important node in this network. The moment I open my mouth, I impact the entire network. And when team members and organizational leaders start discovering this axiom, they begin to say, what I say matters. How I say it matters. And it's not a function of effective communication. It's a function of seeing for myself what's giving me my speaking and shifting it.
Okay, well, let me ask you this in reference to that. Okay, so if I'm leading a team and I open my mouth, I'm speaking to bring about a desired result. Okay, so when I'm speaking to this team, I want them to understand what I'm communicating. Okay. But I have to speak in a manner or a fashion that they're listening or hearing what I'm saying, because a lot of times when we speak to people, their interpretation of what you said is different than what you expected them to capture from it.
It's that way all the time, by the way.
But then this is where I say the shift should, in my opinion, the shift should, it's my responsibility. It's my responsibility to take ownership, to make sure that I'm communicating properly what I want them to understand.
It is.
So a lot of times people don't take that ownership. It's their job to. It's like, well, I told them, but you didn't take ownership to see if they understood the message that you were trying to get across.
Yeah. And that's probably one of the most difficult things for a human being to do. What I find most of the time, Derrick, is that the leaders who are speaking to be understood think that it's their speaking that leaves others hearing. It is so counterintuitive. When in fact, what they discover in practicing is that when they have the patience, when they muster up the patience to hear others, then they can get the world that another person is living in and communicate in a way that resonates. I'll give you an example. We had a couple of employees, good people. They used to work well. And at some point in time, they started not delivering. And in that environment, typically, well, you're not delivering. We're paying you to do your job. What's going on?
Mm-hmm.
What's up?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the person would say, yeah, I'll shape up. And then 2 weeks go by, goes back to the same point. They're not delivering.
Mm-hmm.
There is a conversation to have where the leader simply listens and gives the other person an opportunity to say everything there is to say. And in that space, discover something that may not be quote unquote appropriate to discover at work.
Mm-hmm.
Like that person's home environment is not working.
Mm-hmm.
That person's finances is on shambles.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, there is this concept of dealing with the whole human being.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you can deal with the human being who's just the employee and speak very clearly and have them understand what the job is.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you deal with the whole human being, you will not get whole performance.
Sure.
So, and that's what makes this whole business of leading and influencing people so counterintuitive.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not just influencing an employee. I'm here to communicate and interact with a whole human being. And that doesn't mean I'm your therapist either.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So here's my dream world, Derrick.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to open a Pandora's box, but there is this dream world that I'm looking to experience at least once.
Mm-hmm.
And it's this. You know how meetings in organizations take a long time?
Yes.
I mean, waste. Well, they don't waste because that's the way it is, right? They spend a lot of time in meetings.
Yes.
And if you were a fly on the wall, listening in, you'd find a lot of repetition.
Mm-hmm.
You might find a lot of posturing.
Mm-hmm.
You might find a lot of defending. You might find some blaming. Whatever it is. In the world, sometimes people call it CYA. People in meetings in organizations, whether small or large, spend a lot of time covering their butts.
That's true.
And that's the majority of meetings. So here's my dream world. What if there was a world where people like me, like you, recognize ourselves as the most important node in that network of conversations and begin to relate to the conversations we have as our access to make and request promises. And then we begin to relate to the promises we make as our word and the matter of our lives in those institutions, and then lived our lives to keep those promises. So business meetings could go like this. Derrick, did you keep your promise? And your answer would either be yes or no. If the answer is yes, guess what happens to the meeting? It's over.
It's over, yeah. Yes. Mission accomplished.
Accomplished. If the answer is no, guess what else I could ask you? What do you need from me? To keep your promise. Too often, in a world where I'm not relating to my speaking as that impactful, with the capacity to create a promise and request one, and to live my life inside of a world where my promise is who I am, and you can count on me to keep it, meetings last a long time. In fact, projects don't unfold because no one on the project has ever related to what they say as a promise. So the communication we're talking about, Derrick, a lot of words and a lot of conversations get spoken to defend and perpetuate what is not real in organizations. The only thing that's real in an organization, and I'm making this up, but that's the way the authentic leadership journey goes. What's real is what you say as a promise, and then live your life to keep it. And in that world, every business meeting can last shorter than it takes you to drink a cup of coffee. Because you walk in, there are 30 people there, and you say, raise your hand if you kept your promise.
That's true.
Everybody raises their hand. Meeting's over.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's true. But, this is what I think about that. There's something before that, the promise that has to happen. Okay? So at my company, NextGen Podcast One, now we often say leaders don't struggle because of effort. They struggle because they have lack of clarity about what they are and where they are going. So that key word, a lot of people, a lot of leaders, they don't have the clarity. They make a promise, but they're not clear about what they're supposed to do and how they're supposed to do it. So that stops them from completing the promise.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it's about having as much clarity about, it's just like, I have my team is dispersed amongst many countries. When I'm talking to them, I say what I expect, but then I have to ask them to reverberate their understanding of what I said to make sure that we're on the same page.
Yeah.
So that's when you have clarity.
There's that work that comes before the promise.
Yeah.
And if I may, I'll tell you, you've heard this story so many times. And I think it's necessary to say it because it makes a world where each person can be authentic, real.
Mm-hmm.
You've heard the story of the mother who's about that big, ends up lifting up a car.
Oh, yeah.
Because her son's in danger, right?
Yes.
Now, that person is acting inside of a promise, and they live their lives as if their lives is that promise. Now, I'm going to do whatever it takes to keep that promise.
Mm-hmm.
So now picture this. If I can have for myself that view of myself, when I make a promise, I'm going to do whatever it takes to keep it.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what I'm going to do when there's a lack of clarity? I'm going to seek clarity for myself.
Yes.
I won't wait on Derrick, my boss, or Sorel, my boss, or so-and-so, my boss, to come to give me clarity.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So in the world of that the authentic leadership journey creates, I seek and we seek to dismantle hierarchy that way.
Mm-hmm.
It's not somebody else's job to give you clarity. And at the same time, it is somebody else's job to make things clear. And even when somebody else makes things clear, I may still be unclear.
Sure.
And it's my job to seek clarity. So whatever's missing in the realm of me fulfilling a promise, there's this environment where every member of the team can be relating to themselves as that mother who's going to lift up that car and save that baby.
There is a term for that. I don't know. You may have heard it before. They call it neuro-linguistic programming. It's the art of one's community. So we learn to communicate outside of ourselves to others, okay? But neuro-linguistic programming is the art of communicating internally within yourself, So if you're having that kind of conversation with you, if you learn to have that kind of conversation with yourself, and that goes back to when you say, your world, my world, I'm taking ownership and responsibility for my world. And, I'm communicating internally that come hell or high water, I'm going to keep this promise.
Yeah.
Because I said I would do it. You know what I mean? And if it means I got to pick that car up, I'm going to find a way to leverage and get that car up, Yeah.
And often in that space, I end up not having to pick the car up. because I call 10,000 people and they pick it up.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Because what I also figure out in that space is that the keeping of the promise is what matters. It's not that I have to do what needs to be done for the promise to be kept. It's that I see to it that what needs to be done is done. And leaders can foster that environment when the goal is to foster that. And it often, it's kind of like the cart before the horse, where people rely on the results to tell them if the environment exists. It's actually the other way around. Spend time on the creation, the evolution, and the sustaining of that kind of environment, and performance just happens. Yeah.
Wow. Well, Sorel, we've had some deep conversations here. This is very good stuff here.
I appreciate you inviting me.
Huh? Yeah, well, I appreciate you coming on board. Yeah, I appreciate you coming on board. Now, Sorel, there is one truth about leadership and transformation you want every leader to carry. Let me rephrase that. If there's one truth about leadership and transformation you want every leader to carry forward from this conversation, what would that one thing be?
Nothing is true. Nothing. Nothing is true.
Nothing is true.
Yeah. And if you can stand there, even that statement is not true, right? If you can stand there, then you have the capacity to explore everything to its logical conclusion, to have what's happening be aligned with who you are, and to create the space for others to do the same. And that begins with questioning the truth. Until I question the truth, like my truth, my view of life, then I'm stuck. So if there's one thing I would tell leaders, is if you think it's true, question it.
That's a good one there. Well, Sorel, I just want to say thank you for sharing your insights and your framework and the work you do helping leaders become the people they admire. And to everyone listening, if this conversation added value, please like, subscribe, and share this episode. Those actions help these conversations reach more leaders who are ready to grow with intention. And you can learn more about Sorel's work and the authentic leadership journey at Execufit.com. And if you're still seeking clarity before your next strategic move, the Clarity Program from a Creative Minds AI powered by NextGen Podcast One, because clarity always comes before transformation. I'm Derrick Fennell, and this is NextGen Podcast One. Until the next time, lead with authenticity, act with clarity, and build what truly matters. Thank you, Sorel, and thank you to our guests for joining us.